to the center of the ring.
Al centro of the octagon, if you will.
Or maybe within the confines of the cage.
Remember, peeps, every fighter has a voice, and so do you on AM 1680. The Voice. The Voice. The Voice. The Voice.
With your fight-talking host,
Richard Ortiz.
Don't hit me, Rich. Don't hit me.
Just break me down with some of that fight talk. The Fighter's Voice. Right here, every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And again on Sundays from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And remember, every fighter has a voice. And so do you. So let's get ready to you know what. Right here on The Fighter's Voice.
And we're here in Fresno, California, 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice. Voiceography at its finest. We have a knockout show for you today, and it's sponsored by Serrano's Furniture. Family owned since 1986 in 9 great locations: Bakersfield, Delano, Dinuba, Fresno, Hanford, Madera, Tulare, Visalia, and Porterville. Our other sponsors: About Millions Lifestyle and Promotions and Main Events Gym. This evening's show is being streamed on my Facebook, Richard Ortiz, and my Instagram at The Fighter's Voice by The Fighter's Voice team. So share it, like it, and leave a comment for The Fighter's Voice or our guest anytime during the show. Tonight's show is engineered by Mr. Jose. Don't know his last name right now, but I know it's Mr. Jose. And our co-host with us, who'll be joining us later, Mr. Mike. Mike, help me with your last name.
Rather.
Yeah. Did you say brother?
Rather.
Brother. Okay. Tonight, our guests will be discussing Saturday's WBO welterweight championship fight between Terrence Crawford and Jeff Horn in the rematch that took place between Leo Santa Cruz and Abner
Mares.
Yes, Abner Mares. And we can't go to both of them. And let's not forget about the future of boxing. Jose Ramirez making his first title defense of the WBC super lightweight title July 7th in Fresno, California. Now, this evening we have with us the talented, the beautiful, the Miss Workaholic herself. She's a former actress, model, and CEO of Behind the Gloves. And you know what? She just does everything. I can go on and on and on. And now she's living in Manchester, United Kingdom, and is a boxing presenter all over the world. I can go on and on, like I said, but I'll let her tell her story. Ladies and gentlemen, and now, back to ringside. Ladies and gentlemen, for your main event of the evening, fighting out of the red corner, the woman behind the gloves, Michelle Joy Phelps. How we doing, Michelle? How's it going, Michelle?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing good. Hey, thanks for joining us here on the Fighter's Voice radio show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Hey, let's jump right into it. How was Vegas?
Vegas was fun. I hadn't been there since, I think it was when Mayweather fought McGregor.
Oh, yeah.
Usually I'm in Vegas at least once a month, but since I've, had the job with the World Boxing Super Series and moving over to the UK, I haven't been to Vegas in a while. So it was actually really nice to be back.
Yeah, you know what? Vegas seems to embrace every time you're there, and you seem to embrace Vegas. You guys just kind of click together because I've been following you, and that's real talk. I got to ask you this because we just had a fan. We just had somebody ask me, hey, where did Behind the Gloves start? How did she get started? So I'm going to ask that question. How did you get started in boxing after being an actress and a model?
You know what? It's funny because I use the actress model thing loosely because I think I was just like everybody else, just trying to make it in Hollywood. I was just working. I was a bartender by night, and by day I hit the audition. So it wasn't, I'm not going to say easy. It was tough. I like anything, any industry you try to grow or go into. But I don't know. Boxing was always something that I enjoyed watching. I never in a million years thought I would be in this industry. Like, not ever, ever. If you ever asked me, like, what are your goals? What are your plans? It would never have been this. But and I love that it did that because, life has a funny way of kind of showing you that you think you're in charge, but you're not. And it sort of fell into my lap almost. I did a video where I was talking about boxing. I had gone out and I was tipsy. I came home. I did a video of me talking about
Wait. Hold on. Let me stop you there. Did you say you were tipsy?
Yeah, I was tipsy because I had gone out and I went to a bar and I watched Pacquiao versus Bradley. And the outcome, as you know, was controversial. So I went home, I did a video talking about it, and I just uploaded it to YouTube with not thinking much of it. I mean, it didn't really, I think I had like 10 subscribers. And I just did it for really whatever. And I woke up to thousands of views. And I just thought, like, whoa, this is weird. So I was reading the comments. People were like, oh, you should do more of this. I didn't really think about it too much. I just kind of did it for fun. But then I got approached by a website that's actually no longer up and running. But it was a website at the time called Knockout Digest. And they asked me, hey, do you want to do some ringside stuff for us? Do you want to do some interviews for us? And so that's really kind of how it started. But in the process, I realized that there were no women doing it. And I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to talk to the guy. I'm going to tell him that I kind of want to go and do my own thing, which he respected. And honestly, Behind the Gloves was the first name I came up with. And believe it or not, it was available as a domain, which I didn't think would be available because the name was just so nice, so perfect. And as you could say, everything just sort of lined up, fell into place. It's not as easy as I'm probably making it sound at this moment. There were a lot of challenging times where I didn't think I was going to continue to be in this industry because it was just too tough. But I'm glad that I persevered, and I'm glad that I pushed through, and I remained consistent, and here we are.
I'm sure all the fans are glad, too. So you know what? I guess that's my secret. So after the show, I'm going to go get me a 12-pack of Corona Light, and I'm going to start interviewing people, and I'm going to upload it and see what happens, how many phone calls I'll get. Think that'll work for me?
I didn't interview anybody. I was just talking about it. But apparently some people liked what I had to say. The video's not even up anymore. I had it removed. But it was funny how it all sort of happens. And like I said, I always tell people ask me all the time, they're like, well, how do I get into the industry? And I always said I interned. I worked for free for a solid 6 months, 7 months around there.
Yeah.
And all I did was just build my contacts, and got experience and really feeled it out because a lot of times people see it and they think, oh, it's so easy. I have interns now who call me and they say, my God, it was tough. I had no idea it was this much work just for a few videos. And so it's pretty interesting to see who ends up staying and who ends up going. But that's what I always recommend. Just intern, figure out if it's really something you want to do and go from there.
Well, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. I want to ask you this. Do you remember your first interview?
Yeah, my first interview was with Kid Chocolate.
Okay.
Peter Quillen. Mm-hmm.
Now, after interviewing over and over again, still today, because it happens, what interview made you the most nervous?
I probably would say it was when Andre Ward was returning against, was it Andre? Hold on. Yeah, it was Andre Ward. And he was just, I don't know, you know what it is that Andre, he's very intimidating because he's got his shit together. Excuse me, I don't know if I could cuss.
Yeah, you can. Just no F-bombs. If you say an F-bomb, it has to be the fighter's voice, but we can get away with that one.
No, but Andre was probably the most intimidating because I feel like when you speak to him, you got to come correct. You know what I mean? Because he'll be the first one to correct you on stuff. And so, but even though he's one of the nicest guys in the world, he always makes time for everybody. I found him to be the most intimidating. But I've had difficult interviews just because there's some people who, they're not really much talkers, so it's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I know those too.
Yeah, to answer your question, it would probably be Andre Ward.
Have you ever interviewed Sugar Ray Leonard?
I actually got to ask him one question on a red carpet once, but they were pushing him through. It was the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame event.
Yeah.
And I think that was like three years ago.
Yeah.
If I can remember correctly, 3 or 4 years ago. And it's funny because I remember somebody standing next to me, and they were just asking 1,000,001 questions, and I was just kind of like, oh, my God, could you let other people have a chance? And I didn't, and I got one question, and then he had to go. So,
yeah, and
unfortunately.
And you know what? There's a title that I want to give some of those people, and I always kept it to myself. But the title is called the media whore. Not saying you, but I've been behind some, and they do a whole 15-minute segment, and then their bodyguard says he got to go. I'm like, come on.
Yep.
Been there, done that. Actually, I experienced one Saturday at the Horn fight.
God.
You know what?
Yeah, it's like that. But you know what, though? I also blame that on PR people. I feel like they should be the ones cutting people off because if no one's there to cut them off, then I guess they just keep rolling with it. But, yeah, it's about being considerate, too.
Exactly.
Like when I was interviewing Andre Ward, I wrapped it up because I said, I stopped because I knew there were other people that wanted to get interviews with him. So
I noticed that.
I try to be mindful.
I noticed that. Listen, I want to make good use of our time. Tell us about, what did you think about the whole Crawford-Jeff Horn fight that took place at the MGM Grand?
It was a good one. It was a good one. I think that what happened is what everyone expected to happen. I think that maybe some people expected Terrence Crawford to knock out, like, in good fashion, knock out Jeff Horn. But I think what he did was, his performance was solid. I think he's proving to be, or he's going to be, a big, big threat to the welterweight division. I think he's going to be one of those guys that no one's going to really want to fight, which sucks.
I agree with you.
But his performance was a good one. I think he made a pretty good statement. I think he was smart with not trying to be, like, he knew it was really more about the win as opposed to knocking him out. And, so, I mean, it was nice to watch him become 3-division world champion. I mean, it's always great to see guys reach these milestones, and who knows what's going to happen further on in his career. He could very well end up being the unified welterweight champion of the world.
I can see that take place. Him and Spence will be a great one. I had the pleasure.
Even him and Keith Thurman. Like, Keith Thurman.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, you can match him against anybody at this point, and it's going to be a good fight. I don't see any. I mean, you can match him against Sean Porter. It's a good fight. You can match him against Danny Garcia.
Right.
It's a good fight.
Yeah,
it's just a good fight all the way around.
Looping right hand. Now, I have the pleasure of sitting across from me, one of your writers, Mr. Mike, which I always have difficulty saying his last name. He's here in the studio. He wants to say hello. Say hello, Mike.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. Thank you.
And I actually want to thank Mike for help putting this together right here. And I definitely want to have you back on the show. I know we only got like maybe a minute and a half left. We got a second segment that's 8 minutes, but I know Mom needs some home cooking, and we talked about that off air.
You know what? Mom came home, and she wasn't in the best of moods, and I already know her. And I was like, what? And she's like, I'm just hungry, and I don't want to cook. And I was like, look, I go to the store. She's like, yeah, can you do that? And, I mean, I honestly didn't know how long I was going to be on the show, so I apologize if I'm cutting you off. Usually the 10-minute mark is when I'm asked to do, so I would more than enjoy next time to be on a bit longer now that I know.
No, I appreciate you taking your time. Before you leave, I got to ask you about July 7th, Fresno, California, Jose Ramirez, first tower defense of his super lightweight title. Any chance you coming down to Fresno?
You know what? I've been wanting to do that. I know Rick, his manager, is, he asks me sometimes, but you know what the problem is? My schedule. Without fail, every single time Jose has had a fight, I have had something that I had to do or somewhere. And the thing is Fresno is a bit in the middle of nowhere for me because I believe the closest I could fly into is Sacramento, right? And I have to drive in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not exactly like right off the flight that I can just go straight in, straight out.
Right.
So I wish.
We got to make that happen somehow in Fresno. Listen, you got 20 seconds. Tell us in 20 seconds, what do you think of Richard Ortiz and the Fighter's Voice radio show? Clock's ticking.
I like you guys a lot. I love your energy. And it was great meeting you finally ringside. So keep up the good work, and I hope to be back on again.
Hey, we're going to make time for you, and we'll have you back on. Mike made this happen, and I'd love to do some collaboration work soon. This is Rich Ortiz with the Fighter's Voice radio show with the one and only Mr. Joy Phelps. And we're leaving, paying for some commercials. We'll be right back here on 1680 AM.
You are listening to The Fighter's Voice on AM 1680.
Right now, we gotta take a break.
Pay some bills. So be ready for some head banging, lip smacking, heart attacking, fight talk. Because every fighter has a voice.
Don't hit me, Rich. Don't hit me.
Just break me down with some of that fight talk. The fighter's voice. Right here. And remember, every fighter has a voice. And so do you. So let's get ready to you know what. Right here on The Fighter's Voice.
And we're back here, Fresno, California, streaming live as we always do, only on 1680 AM. I want to thank the lovely, the beautiful, the workaholic, you know what, I'm going to open up my own doors by as hard as I work, Miss Michelle Joy Phelps. And she had to go, as you heard, we keep it real. She had to go get mom some groceries and get it done. And everybody got to take care of mom, just like we're going to take care of our guests, take care of our fans and our listeners. This is part 2, and it's called Second Round. And it's a second round recap. We're going to talk about Saturday's events, Saturday's welterweight fight, Terrence Crawford, Jeff Horn. Also, we're going to go across the pond and talk about the rematch that took place with Santa Cruz. You know what? I'm thinking of De La Hoya, but I do want to go to Santa Cruz because the weather's good up there. It's too hot here in Madera, Fresno. Anyways, we have our guest, Mr. Mike.
Rather.
It keeps sounding like you sound brother.
Nah, rather.
Hey, you got some good news for us today. Share it with us, man.
Canelo and Triple G has officially been announced. Rematch is on September 15th from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.
So that means in Fresno, California, I'm not going to go see Angela Johnson, who's coming to Fresno, California. I wanted to go see her, maybe bring her on the show.
We could probably get her on before then.
Hey, we were trying to. I challenged our PR people. I said, look, I'm going to put you up to the task. I'm going to raise the bar. Can you get Angela Johnson on the show that Wednesday? And he said, consider it done. So I'm going to call him on that. Mr. Martinez. Martinez is the PR guy for the Fighter's Voice radio show. Let's talk about Terrence Crawford, Jeff Horn. What's your whole take on that?
It went how I expected. I did think Crawford was going to knock out Horn maybe in like the 5th or 6th round because of Horn missing weight. But to give Horn his credit, he can take a punch because he took some solid shots that I had no idea he would be able to stand up to. But eventually you're going to get broken down, and Crawford is one of the top at least 3 to 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And he stopped him when he knew he had to. And I feel the referee did a great job in stopping it when he did, because Horn was not going to win that fight, and he was going to take a beating those last few rounds.
You know, I was watching the fight, and I noticed the first round. You can see the size difference and even the strength. And it was definitely a Horn type of fight, kind of ugly, kind of, hey, go for broke. But it was just a matter of time before your skill set starts to set in, before everything starts to take place. Because you can be a tough guy, but you still got to be a smart guy. Yeah. And you got to have some skill set.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter between when that jab started landing. Actually, at times he's landing a triple jab.
Yeah. And I was watching that with a couple of my nephews, and my 18-year-old nephew actually called it. He said once he lands that uppercut, this fight's going to start to go. And if you look towards the end of that fight, that uppercut was what started the end of that fight.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what? A lot of people, it's misleading just because he's a small guy, how much power he has. I mean, Crawford has tremendous power. And even his body shots, all around, that's why he's in the top 2 pound for pound, which we'll talk about that later on in the show. There's one guy that I want to bring up. He was a guest on the Fighter's Voice radio show. We went to see him, and he looked absolutely awesome. And that's Jose Benavidez Jr. He took care of work. First round, his body attack, just his lateral movement, everything. It's almost like a kid in a candy store waiting to eat candy, because now it was time for him to eat because he was sitting out so long, but he took care of business. What's your take on that?
From what I'm hearing, it looks like that's going to be the next fight for Crawford.
Benavidez.
From what I'm hearing, I'm not 100% sure, but they're saying Crawford.
Introduce your skill set. I didn't even introduce your skill set. You're a writer for?
Behind the Gloves.
Which is Michelle Joy Phelps. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're not just some guy at a pizza parlor saying, put me in with him.
Oh, no. I know my stuff.
Yeah.
Been doing this for a couple years now, so yeah, I do know my stuff. I have contacts in different places, but like I said, from what I've heard, it looks like that's what they might be angling towards. Mm-hmm. And the way Benavidez came off, that could draw a lot of interest. Benavidez is a big guy for 147. He's a big dude.
He's a big guy.
So that would be a great fight. I do think Crawford would win, but he would fight somebody with maybe the same amount of power as him and who's actually a very skilled boxer.
Well, he's actually going to fight some. Well, I would say Horn actually thought he was going to win.
Oh, yeah.
He will take on somebody in Benavidez that absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, going in the fight is not there to take second place.
Oh, yeah.
Is actually there to actually win the fight.
He has a chance.
Absolutely.
He's not a walkover. He has a chance to win.
Well, yeah, I know who I'll be pulling for. And we'll be talking about that later.
And from what I've heard, that Crawford's fight is supposed to be in October in Omaha. So supposedly that's what's set right now. That's what they're working on. So if it is, it might be Benavidez.
I wish Benavidez would have got some rounds in.
Oh yeah,
as well. But hey, when that title shot comes knocking on the door, you take it.
You take it. Yes.
Now, also on the card from Stockton, California, the 209, the youngest ever, Gabriel Flores Jr. My gosh, he looks spectacular.
He's gotten better every time. I mean, I've seen all of his fights, and you could just see the skills keep getting better. He's trusting more in his power, and he's got a good jab for being so early in his career. So he knows what he's doing. He's not a pushover. He's not a hyped up prospect. He's a legit prospect that's going somewhere.
I will say this honestly, and I know it's a big comparison. I'm gonna get text messages and emails. When I saw De La Hoya in the amateurs, and you just knew he was gonna be something special. Yeah. When I saw Gabriel Saturday, I said to myself, "Oh my gosh, he is starting to pull away."
Yeah.
It was a big show, the big event for him, and he lived up to all the expectation, all the hype. I never got a chance to see him live. I've seen him spar, I've seen him move around, but live fighting, he was all business. He was comfortable. He was elusive. Everything was working for him. Yes, he is definitely going to be a powerhouse.
No, he's the real deal. Like I believe the last fight that was in what was the fight before this?
Oh, Las Vegas.
Before this one?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
but it wasn't at the MGM.
Yeah. Terrence Crawford's trainer, Bomac, was announcing the fight while it was going on, and you could hear the giddiness in his voice as he's talking about Gabriel Flores, about how he was moving, how he was hitting, and all his skills. And if you have the trainer of one of the best fighters in the world jumping up and down about how good you're looking, you're doing something right. So Flores is not just being hyped up by us. He's legit, and you got legit people talking about him, so he knows.
Exactly. And you know what? I do want to give some props to Pops, Gabriel Flores Sr. I mean, when he talks about his son, you see him light up. That's his masterpiece. That's his trophy that breathes. But they put the work in. Oh, yeah. They definitely put the work in. And I do want to say they're going to have a grand opening in Stockton, California, opening up their new gym. My plan is to try to we should go down there.
So let me know
we should go down there, get the camera and the mic, and hey, the last time, I don't want to promise, because the last time I promised Benavidez I'd be there. I had to sell my cans and catch a flight with, I just had to make it happen. But it was well worth it.
Oh, yeah.
No, we can go down and we could. And there's another one that I want to talk about. Let's talk about the rematch that took place at the Staples Center. And that's Leo Santa Cruz and Abner
Mares.
What's your whole take on that?
It was a good fight. The judge that gave it 117 to 111, I don't know what he was watching.
Oh, come on.
Because it was a good fight. I figured Santa Cruz would win just like the first one. I think if they fight 100 times, it'll be 100 great fights. But Santa Cruz would probably win each one. But Mares is not a pushover. He fought his heart out. That was a great fight. It was just Santa Cruz knows how to use his length, and that's the difference. He knows how to use his length. He knows how to get inside. Mares is still a great fighter. It's just sometimes it's who you match up against, who you're not going to beat. And I just think he will never beat him, but he will always give him a fight.
Oh, I mean, Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson, they can fight over and over again 100 times. Evander Holyfield has his number, especially when Mike Tyson tries to box. You're not going to outbox this man. That's just a scenario. That's just a comparison.
Manny Pacquiao, Juan Marquez.
Oh, well, you know what? I don't know about taking the juice. That's all my thing. And all my Mexican friends and fans, they're going to be texting me right now. But one thing we do got to text and knock out is these commercials. 1680 AM, Rich Ortiz, the fighter's voice, will be coming right back.
You are listening to The Fighter's Voice on AM 1680.
Right now, we got to take a break.
Pay some bills. So be ready for some head banging, lip smacking, heart attacking, fight talk. Because every fighter has a voice.
Don't hit me, Rich. Don't hit me.
You are listening to The Fighter's Voice on AM 16.
Don't hit me, Rich. Don't hit me.
Just break me down with some of that fight talk. The Fighter's Voice. Right here. And remember, every fighter has a voice. And so do you. So let's get ready to you know what. Right here on The Fighter's Voice.
And we're back here in Fresno, California, 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice. Voiceography at its finest. Every fighter has a voice, and so does our guest, Mr. Mike. Brother. I'm better off saying that. No, Ruther. Did I say it right?
Ruther.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go. I got it. You know, we got an opening here at the Fighter's Voice radio show for a co-host in boxing. I want you to think about it.
No problem.
There we go. This is part 3, and it's simply called Who You Got. Who You Got, Mike? We're finally going to get this unification heavyweight showdown to unify all the bouts between Anthony Joshua and Mr. Wilder. This fight is going to take place in the UK, where Michelle resides. I want to know, who do you got and why? Break it down now.
At this point, I would have it 50-50. Maybe a year ago, Joshua, after he beat Klitschko, I had Joshua up.
You had Joshua?
Last year. After he beat Klitschko, because Wilder hadn't really been in with someone of that caliber.
Yeah.
After what Wilder did to Ortiz, taking those punches, standing up, coming back, and then knocking him out, I give Wilder a legit chance. I've talked to many people, many trainers, who say you could say anything about Wilder's style, his, people make fun of him, call him
his
windmill,
balance.
whatever, but that 1-2 he has is
a game changer.
Is picture perfect, and that right hand will put in. Abel Sanchez last November told me, if he hits you, you don't fall asleep for a couple seconds, you're asleep for a couple months. You've seen Ortiz.
That's actually true.
Yeah, you've seen Ortiz. You've seen Stavern tried to get Stavern has only been knocked down once before that fight, and Wilder knocked him down 3 times, and horrible each one.
You know what? My whole thing is I continue to go back and forth just like you do. And to me, that fight's going to have to come down. I'm going to have to spot something either in an interview or the walk inside the ring. When it's that close, it's hard to say exactly who's going to win. But there's something you could always pick up on their way into the ring or an interview, or they drop their eyes or they say something or just their determination. It's going to be one of those fights.
I think Wilder wants to fight more than Joshua does at this point, though. He made that offer. He's come out over and over and said,
and to go to the UK.
Yeah, and that shows a lot. He's not pushing to have it here. He's pushing to go over there. And yeah, the rematch would be here, which if they do fight, the rematch was going to be huge here, wherever they have it. But I see Wilder wanting to fight more right now. And Joshua's not going to back down, but I think he's trying to make more money before risking a lot in that fight, because that'll be a big risk.
I definitely see Wilder dictating the pace with that jab and just taking it to him. Maybe even hurting him in the first round. Maybe even wobbling in the first round. Maybe even within the first 3 rounds getting him out of there. Because he has that power, and that chin has been suspect. But he showed a lot of tenacity, a lot of wit, a lot of against. I'm a big fan after the Klitschko brother.
Yeah.
But I was pulling for Klitschko. I'm not going to lie to you.
I was watching that fight, and once Klitschko knocked him down, I thought that was it. But
that uppercut, my gosh.
Oh, yeah, I thought his head was coming off.
Talk about heads coming off. There's another great matchup. Mikey Garcia, and his head's going to be looking up at Robert Easter. You can see the size difference. Oh, yeah. But Mikey Garcia, we'll talk about Robert too. He doesn't get involved in anything unless he knows he's going to win. Mm-hmm. He don't just do it for a payday. He's set. He's doing very well. Actually, he's cutting out the middleman. He's his own boss.
His own promoter.
And for him to want to challenge himself, hats off.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough fight, but I do feel like he's going to win. Easter's, maybe it's just the competition. Maybe he's just fought down to his competition, and maybe fighting against Mikey is going to make him elevate his game. But I think Mikey has everything on Easter. Maybe just not the power, but the skills are all Mikey.
I mentioned Robert by accident because they're brothers. I want to talk a little bit about Robert. Jose Ramirez, the Avenal kid, he is now in the Robert Garcia stable, along with Madera's own Brian Lua, another top-ranked fighter. Brian Lua, Jose Ramirez is very fond of Brian Lua.
Yeah.
And I can see the two helping each other. When I say helping each other, because when he sees him, he can't help but see himself at the same time. My point is, Mr. Garcia, Robert Garcia, is a man of his word, is a man of the people, and he gives his fighter everything that he has. Mm-hmm. He doesn't let any kind of filming or anything get in the way of it. He gives it. The guy's always traveling for his fighters. He gives it 100%.
Yeah.
And I will say he's a man of his word. I got a story to tell. I met him. Well, no, I didn't meet him, but we've talked over and over again. And there was one time I gave him a shirt, and I'll tell the story over and over again because I was living. I said, look, here's the shirt, man, for you to wear. Because he said, where's my shirt? I gave his brother one of my son with a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I'm going to wear it tomorrow. And I was thinking, okay, how many people has ever told me that?
Yeah.
Walking inside the ring in front of 15,000 fans, he's rocking the thumbs up for Richie shirt.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, man, I appreciate that. You kept your word. And he was like, yeah, of course. Looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
But no, man, he's class act. He's definitely class act. And if you look in the back, sometimes you'll see some of the interviews. He has a sticker of our logo in there. So, I mean, that's big. Makes me excited because the Fighter's Voice radio show is going to be a household name. We got the podcast coming out. I'm about to snag this guy right here and make him my co-host because he's a boxing guru. I need you more involved on the show, Mike, and I know that we're going to get involved, and we got some big things brewing. But one thing we do got brewing, and I want you to touch up on it, is finally we got Triple G Canelo in a minute 30, which is all yours. Tell us who's going to win and why.
I honestly feel Canelo's actually going to pull this one out, and possibly by knockout. Triple G, showed some slippage. He fought Marta Rosen in the last fight. I mean, let's be real, that guy hadn't fought in 2 years. As tough as he is, he hadn't fought in 2 years. That wasn't even a challenge. Canelo's going to be pissed off for everybody, talking about the steroids and all this and that. He signed up for VADA. He's doing everything that they asked him to do. He did the hair test. He wanted to show his innocence, and now here he is. He didn't have to give that contract to Triple G. He gave up a lot of money for that.
So is it safe to say he's going to be bolder?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's finally going to live up to the Tecate there.
There you go.
Yeah. So I think he'll knock him out, but it won't be early.
You know what? I can see him making the adjustments, and Triple G's, it is what it is. But in his mind, why make the adjustments if it's working?
Yeah.
But in this sport, you got to make the adjustments. Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, they went back and forth. Sugar Ray became the puncher, and Tommy Hearns became the boxer who was actually the puncher, but he turned it around. Different styles make fights, and I'm looking forward to that. I mean, we got to go down there and check that out.
I think this fight's going to be better than the first one. I think they both took each other's best punch and walked through it. So now they're going to feel like they could keep doing it again.
So what's going to be the difference? The weight, the attitude, the layout?
I think Canelo knows now that he could take that punch. I don't think he believed it at first. And then now he knows he could take that punch. And Triple G knows he could take it, but Canelo has improved in his defense and his overall boxing ability.
Well, you know what? We're going to improve when we take these commercials and knock them out. Rich Ortiz with the Fighter's Voice, 1680 AM.
You are listening to The Fighter's Voice on AM 1680.
Right now, we gotta take a break.
Pay some bills. So be ready for some head banging, lip smacking, heart attacking, fight talk. Because every fighter has a voice.
Don't hit me, Rich. Don't hit me.
Just break me down with some of that fight talk. The Fighter's Voice. Right here. And remember, every fighter has a voice. And so do you. So let's get ready to you know what. Right here on The Fighter's Voice.
And we're back here at 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice. Voiceography at its finest. Every fighter has a voice, and so do you. This is part 4, and it's simply called Last Round. And this last round is sponsored by Serrano's Furniture, family owned since 1986 in 9 great locations: Bakersfield, Delano, Dinuba, Fresno, Hanford, Madera, Tulare, Visalia, and Porterville. And our other sponsor, About Millions, Lifestyle Promotions and Main Events, Jim. We had an outro right here, but the outro already left. She had to go buy food for Mom, which that's cool. And now back to ringside, I usually say, but like I said, she left. But she took her time. Let's talk about Michelle. Let's talk about how you got involved with Behind the Gloves, because she is a workaholic. Mm-hmm. And you said it's happened fast. It is happened fast. She got a break, and you know what? She simply got that break by being herself. Yeah. What's your relationship like with her?
We would talk off and on when I first started. Recently, over the last couple months, we've talked a lot more. She likes the work I do because, as she says, you gotta hustle.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll go out of my way. If it's bugging somebody on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, to get an interview, to get in touch with somebody, that's what I'm gonna do. So, there's the friend I have in LA, Denise Colome. She's Cuban.
Yeah.
She got me in touch with a lot of people from Mayweather Promotions, and his cousin DeJuan Blake, and he has his own management company as well. He has a lot of fighters, so I got in contact with them. Top Rank. I mean, they came out here once, talked to them a couple times, and now I got a lot of connections there as well. So I've just worked, man. Like, she likes the hustle I gave, so she's giving me a lot more opportunities as well.
Well, there you go. But you're in Fresno, California. You're minutes away from the Fighter's Voice radio show. No, I'm not going to put you on the spot. We will talk, and we've already been working together. And we've been you've been more than helpful and more than supportive. But hey, man, I like to get my hustle on too. I'm just waiting for my opportunity. I'll continue to grind, and I do love your work, man. I know where you're coming from. I get text messages all the time from you as far as what's taking place. But let's talk about everything that's taking place July 7th. I want to continue to talk about him because I had the opportunity to hang out with him in Las Vegas. Not the fighter, but the person, Jose Ramirez. And, for him to see a different side of him, very friendly, very elusive. And one thing that stuck in my mind was him and Rick Meridian. They were sitting next to each other, and they were just laughing together. They weren't laughing about boxing. They weren't laughing about anything. But to see that relationship, and you understand why they work so good together, because there's more than just a business relationship there. And, it just sticks in my mind. They had a good time. And I want to thank I Will Win today. I mean, she was awesome. Jose's wife, she was there. She was awesome. Mr. Charles Tremblay and his friend, they were awesome. And it was just a nice time in Las Vegas. But let's talk about Fresno, California, July 7th. Jose Ramirez. Tell me, what's going to happen the minute he walks out and the crowd sees him? It's going to be an eruption. But I want to hear it from you.
You're not going to be able to hear what you're thinking.
No.
When I was there for when he fought Reed, you could not hear the Lupe Contreras. You could not hear the music. You couldn't hear the person next to you. I mean, it felt like the roof really came off of that place. And now that he's a world champion, I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to see what's going to happen that day. And I'm predicting at least third or fourth round knockout. And, you're going to see things flying in the air. Oh, yeah. I mean, O'Connor's a good fighter. He's been stopped once, and if you YouTube it, you'll see why I'm saying this. Yeah. Because the guy that knocked him out was actually supposed to fight Jose a couple years back and backed out. And that guy does not carry a punch, but he put O'Connor down in one of the worst knockouts I've seen in recent years.
I see Jose winning the fight, but there's something that comes alive in a man once he gets the title shot. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see the best O'Connor there, period. But your first title defense, and he could have went to New York. He could have went to Las Vegas. He chose Fresno, California. The minute he walks out there, it's going to be an eruption. Mm-hmm. Just to be, if you watch it on TV, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you're shortchanging yourself. Yeah. You got to be a part of that.
Once you're there, you'll feel the difference. Being at one of the fights live is like nothing else. There's just something that happens when you're there, especially at an event like this. When we're in Carson for Valdez and Quigg, even though it was raining and it was bad, the crowd was still one of the most lively.
For that Andy Benson's?
Yeah. Those,
which I thought Andy Benson's won.
I thought he won as well. But, yeah, that crowd was wild there.
Fibron.
Yeah. Shout out to Andy.
Yes.
To him too.
We talk about Jose. We talk about his promoter. We talk about Garcia. But one guy behind the scenes that doesn't get all the hoopla, and I'm going to put him on blast in a good way, that works on his speed, agility, and his power, his nutrition, that's Mr. Charles Tremblay.
He's always there that I've seen.
Oh, man, he's putting in work. I was there, and I'm not going to say exactly what the conversation was, but it was somebody very important says, hey, Charles, I'd like for you to help me do this on this certain day. And Charles looked at the man and said, look, I'd love to, but I have training with Jose. And that was a big event. And I'm not going to say who asked him, but that was a big name that asked him. Actually, we had a beer together, but yeah, that was a big event and he wanted to have more, but it's time to go. But no, his dedication to, and Charles believes in his product. Charles been telling me about Jose before Jose was in the Olympics. While he was a candidate there, and then he was Olympian, and he said, Richard, this kid, we're going to work on his power. He's going to be world champion. He went on and on and on from day one. And, Charles Tremblay, man. You're making this happen, and keep doing what you're doing, my man. I want to ask you this, man. Are you ready for the Fighter's Voice podcast to take place?
Of course.
Man, we're about to make that happen. I get goosebumps listening to it. We're about to close some deals, and I want to say it, and I want to say so much, but I don't want to be that person that says it and then it doesn't come to pass. But I do have faith in it, and here at the Fighters Voice Radio Show, we're putting together a spectacular, strong team. I'm excited. You know, you got all the other contenders out there, all the other shows out there, and they're doing good work. I support you, and I do, because I press like all the time. You know, I really support your stuff. But the Fighters Voice Radio Show, I want its own identity, to have its own person and its own livelihood, and open it up to not just fighters, MMA fighters or boxers, but anybody alike. We actually had Mr. Daryl Miller, who's ran for candidacy, and now he's number 2. So he'll be running in November. So District 3, Fresno, California. That he controls all the area of not the Seymour Center, but Salon Arena.
Okay.
So big kudos to him too. He was on the show. He wanted to be on the show. We made it happen. And also, we got some events coming up, some local events in Fresno, California in July. And we're going to touch up on that right now. But right now, Mike, having you on the show makes me feel a little more comfortable that I know somebody that's like a boxing encyclopedia, man. I mean,
thank you.
When we come back, I'm going to ask you, what got you into boxing? Because we got to pay these commercials, man. Without these commercials, we have no show. And this is Rich Ortiz with the Fighters Voice Radio Show. We'll be coming back here on 1680 AM.
You are listening to The Fighter's Voice on AM 1680.
Right now, we gotta take a break. You know.
Pay some bills. So be ready for some head banging, lip smacking, heart attacking, fight talk. Because every fighter has a voice.
Don't hit me, Rich. Don't hit me.
Just break me down with some of that fight talk. The Fighter's Voice. Right here. And remember, every fighter has a voice. And so do you. So let's get ready to you know what. Right here on The Fighter's Voice.
And we're back here at 1680 AM. This is part 5, and it's simply called Closing Segments. A big thank you to our guest, Michelle Joy Phelps, for joining us here on the Fighters Voice Radio Show. Thank you for joining us. I know you had a lot to do out of your busy schedule, but yet you took time, and you did say you would be back, so we'll be expecting that. And we got to get you somewhere from Sacramento to Fresno, because that seemed to be the void there. We ran out of time. I want to say thank you to all the listeners, the streamers, those that share the show, those that catch the show every Wednesday live stream on Richard Ortiz, Facebook, and IG at The Fighter's Voice, with a rebroadcast every Saturday at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. and again on Sunday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. only on 1680 AM. Go to our webpage, thefightersvoice.com, for extra interviews and video segments. Subscribe to the page, thefightersvoice.com. Like it, follow us whenever you want. Mike, I didn't get a chance to ask you, what got you started in boxing?
Growing up, I mean, you know, in Mexican families.
Are you Mexican?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
Chavez Sr. I mean, what else could
you
you
look like Trump in here.
Oh,
okay,
never
no,
that.
my bad.
Come on
I'm
now.
just playing. No, I shouldn't go there.
That's
but no, go ahead. Chavez Sr., yeah, of course,
Chavez
everybody
Sr.,
watched him.
From when I was probably as old as I can remember, watching him fight up until he was done. And it was Eric Morales, Barrera, De La Hoya, and so on and so forth. You know, I mean, I've seen fighters from, and I've liked different styles. I'm not just a brawling fan.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Asuma Nelson. So
That's right, Professor.
Old school fans, you would know who that is. The Drunken Master, Emmanuel Augustus.
Oh, dang. Take
Yeah.
it back.
So, I mean, I've been watching fighting for a long time. I could tell you fighters that, you know, you probably never heard of or, you know, you'd ever seen. If you've, Mickey Ward, you know, I know people know that from the movie.
What
but
you know about Julian Jackson, the Hawk?
One of the hardest punchers in the history
Ever.
of boxing.
Ever.
But could also not take much of a
Yeah,
punch.
that's true. So his
and his kids were the same way. They're great fighters, but, I mean, watch Andy Lee's knockout of his son, and you'll see why.
Yeah, that's not too
But
pretty.
they're still great fighters.
That's not too pretty. One of my favorite fighters of all time is Mr. Tommy the Hitman Hearns.
One of the best.
One of the best. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are the best for listening in, being the viewers, leaving comments, because I usually get the comments when they're over. But as every show is dedicated to my son, every air that comes out of my breath, every segment, te quiero mucho, mijo. Richie, I love you with all my heart. This is possible only for you. I dedicate to you. Thumbs up for Richie.